I'm back with another video and I'm pretty excited about this. I've been in the market for a new camera for quite a while, looking for one to replace the Canon 1200D that I've used for about the last 3 years. May make a video on that camera in the future. I previously made it wasn't that great, so I may look at doing a video and talk about my experiences with that camera for the past couple of years. But and some people will say maybe I'm jumping on the bandwagon, but honestly, with everything that's happened lately, I just thought, why not go ahead and get a camera with some more advanced features that I really wanted in a camera. And so I ended up getting the Sony A7 III, and I've actually been pretty impressed with it so far. There's not a review video by any means, just a few of the kind of features on this camera that I've been really happy with so far. As you see, it comes. I've got the lens hood on. Bought it on Amazon. This is not a sponsored video or an advertisement or whatever. I decided to get that up with this is the 28 to 70mm lens. It's just a few pound more on Amazon. It was body only or with the lens. So I decided just a couple of pound more, get the lens with it. But obviously native lens, and I don't have the money for an adapter at this time. So I'm just getting used to this camera. There's just a few features I want to talk about that I've been using. Also, I've got the neck strap on. I put it on the Canon 1200D, and I've always had that on. And I decided to put this on as well, just for kind of relax a little bit. So you have it on, carrying this about for several hours every day that I have, and obviously will continue to do so. So this camera that I hopefully will use for the next few years. It allows me to relax a little bit because I've got to carry my bag around with me as well the camera, and it's about, was it 680 grams I think, according to Wikipedia. So it's not hugely heavy. I think it's round about the same as the 1200D, but it allows me to relax a little bit more when carrying it around. I've got that kind of more safer strap. I don't need to really keep it in a really tight hold, but keep my muscles tightened. One of the features, I'll take this off so I can show you. One of the features on this camera that I've actually started to really use is actually the tilted screen. It doesn't flip out right around, but I don't know if you really can see that, but it does flip around to about 45 degrees each way, and you can use it a little bit. I've actually been using this camera in the last week, or like I said, several days across the last fortnight, and I've been out and about taking some photographs of the Maggie's Penguin Parade penguins, which I put in my previous video was a quick look. I know there's a lot of dust spots on it. This camera is not huge, not exactly, Sony themselves said the camera is not completely dust or weather sealed. Any more adventurous conditions I will use a 1200D, which is obviously keeping because I've got lenses for it, and it's still working very well. But I've used the tilt screen to take a few shots of because every one of those penguins has a plaque with a short description about the design or the design artist who has painted the individual design on that particular penguin. So I've been using that to kind of get and use it to get a picture of the plaque low down and a couple of different angles of the penguin as well. And I have to say I'm quite happy with the image quality so far that I've been taking with that. Talking about the screen, that also brings me to the viewfinder. Now, one of the great things on this camera is that, first of all, the viewfinder is a bit more pronounced. I may put up a photograph it or something, but for this video, but it's a little bit more pronounced, the viewfinder outwards than the 1200D. It's the 1200D. I'm looking over there. There's quite flat. This is again more pronounced. It's more almost looks like kind of glasses. Also, it's like an old telescope kind of thing. One of the great options about this camera is that you can switch. It automatically switches on the default settings. It switches between the view screen and the screen and the viewfinder automatically. So you can, it's It's very difficult unless you're like on a tripod you can't really compose your photo. Then use the viewfinder to take the photograph exactly the same, because obviously you're moving, you're bringing the camera up. But if you bring the camera up to your eye, then it'll switch to the viewfinder, which is great. You do have the option in the menus to either just use the view screen, the LCD screen. I'm not sure what exactly to call them, but to use the screen, the back screen, or use the viewfinder, or automatically switch between them. So you can just use the screen, just use the viewfinder, which I think will be better for battery life, which I'll talk about later, and which I'm going to use at the wrestling shows that I do. So that's great to be able to switch between them or switch automatically between them. It's pretty good. It's an electronic viewfinder. Electronic viewfinders seem to be more representative of the picture that you take. I will say that I've been shooting JPEGs recently because the Adobe was at Photoshop Elements 2018 that I have doesn't seem to support the RAW files from the Sony A7 III, which is really because I've just gone in to try and to kind of process RAW files and try and go into that kind of thing. So it's a little bit of a shame. I do have a workaround. I downloaded an Adobe converter thing which converts them to DNG, so I'm going to have to explore that and see what it looks like editing before I go back to RAW files. But talking of files, it has a dual memory card slot, 2 memory card slots. I don't have I don't have an UHS 2 memory card at the moment. That'll be sometime further down the line. But I've been using the 128GB memory card in slot 1, and then slot 2 I've been putting in another 64GB. So if I'm out shooting JPEGs at the moment, which I am, I've got plenty of space on the memory card, so don't need to worry about it at all. That brings me to the buffer on this. The buffer is very good. I've been using some burst modes, which I'll talk about in a second, but even using the burst modes, using these grey or silverish, black, I know the card, the SD card itself is black, but the grey labelled, it was at 18, I think it's megabytes or megabits per second SanDisk SD cards. The memory's quite good. You get it slows down quite a little bit once you reach about 130 JPEGs, which actually you can take in a few seconds, but honestly it handles it very well. It takes about a second then per picture, so it does take, if you take say 128 JPEGs, or if you keep you use like say the high plus drive mode, then if you take over like, you can take about 60, 90 odd, 100 odd photographs in just a few seconds with the speed, the immense speed of the high plus drive mode. It'll quite fill the buffer, but there is the option, of course, to display the buffer on your camera, on the display. It's great that you can see the menus also, not just on the screen, back screen, but in the viewfinder as well. You can display, when you're taking photographs, you can display a line that represents the buffer, and that'll tell you how much space is in the buffer. And even using those relatively standard slower memory cards, the buffer's been really good. I'm very impressed with that. The burst modes, I might as well talk about that very quickly. But I've been using burst modes a couple of times. Been out and about, as I said, with the Maggie's Penguin Parade, taking photographs of some of the penguins. I've got most of them at this point that I can actually get, because there's some that are quite further afield than Dundee that I'm not going to be able to get to, mostly for financial reasons, obviously. But even you get different. Well, actually, I should really start saying you get different drive modes. You get a single shot drive mode. You get low continuous, mid continuous, high continuous, and high plus continuous shooting mode. I don't know how the high plus mode would work on an SD, a UHS 2 card, which is the newer next generation of SD cards. But once you get to about 130, and if you continue to press the hold the shutter down to continue to press to take photos, the you do get a little bit of a lag when you're taking the photos. You can see it in the EVF and the viewfinder. There is that little bit of a lag in the action. It's just slightly behind, but again, you're filling up the buffer, so the camera has to clear the buffer, and it slows down. The more obviously the more photos you take, the more you're filling up the buffer. The more the camera has to write them to the photos to the card. So overall, the buffer and even though there's a little bit of a lag, it's been quite good actually. I only so I took some photos at Dundee Airport of a few planes taking off, and I also took some photos of some traditional Eastern European dancing at a Pro Europe rally I was at. I think the better results were at the dancing, but and I took that with a speed of about 8,000 of a second just to test the high speed out, which is double the speed of the 1200D that I previously had. That went up to only about 4,000 of a second, but I just used that to just really test the high speed burst, shooting in high speed burst mode, and it seemed to be okay. The pictures are not exactly. I don't know. Maybe it's just me the way I'm using the focus modes because I'm still getting used to them. It's not exactly pin sharp, but I'm quite decently happy with the results of that. There is also the joystick on the back of it. I'm going to talk about that in another video, but you can move the expandable, flexible spots where you can move focus. I've not really used that in a great deal. I've been using centre focus and trying the zone focus. I'll talk about that maybe in a future video. But what I will very quickly talk about. So I'm reaching already about 12 minutes now. I'll lastly talk about the battery. Now, the Sony A7 III, I think, which is I believe exactly the same as the A9, uses the Sony NP-FZ100 battery. This is quite a substantial battery, and you can see it there. I am honestly, I'll probably let you see. I mean, you can Google pictures of the battery if you really want a better look at it. I haven't really saw a video on YouTube that really completely properly explains the length of the life of this battery or the capabilities of this battery, not to my satisfaction. One thing that I did do yesterday, I used this exact battery that I have in my hand, because I can see the other two sitting on the table up there. I just kept them separate so I know which one to charge up. Fully, I know I'm going to be charging them up anyway before I go out again. This battery, I used it for a total of about 100. I had to re-record this because I was interrupted by a lot of noise. I stumbled over that as well, so I'll say this again. I'm keeping this in, but I used this for 1 hour 40 minutes approximately yesterday. This battery, the camera was continually on. I took in total, including the loads of burst photographs I took to try out that high drive mode again, or the high plus drive mode. I total about 866 photographs because I took various photographs of the speakers at the Pro Europe rally that I was at. I took a total of about 866 photographs in total. I had the camera continually on. Wasn't continually taking photographs, just take a few photographs of each speaker and then we're just listening to them, and I had the camera on with the view screen on, the back screen of the camera on, and after about an hour and 40 minutes the battery was down to 62%, which is quite good actually, I thought. No idea how many I'll need to get through on the SWE wrestling shows. Just having to wear the t-shirt was the worst one I picked out in my drawer, because it's typical you wear the same few t-shirts. They get washed, put back just on the top of the drawer, and then you pull a t-shirt out to wear for the day, and it's for the day just the same one that same ones you tend to pull out. But I'm going to recharge. What I'm going to do in 2 weeks, July 28th, Ardler Complex, I'm going to charge all of the batteries that I have up fully. I've got about 3 of them now. Three of them. I'll charge all of them up. I'm going to see how long one lasts, see how far into the show I can get with this without trying to miss any of the action, obviously, and I'll see how well one battery does, and see how many times I have to change them, change the batteries during the show. Normally about 2.5, sometimes near 3 hour shows, and because in 2 weeks' time, well, just under 2 weeks' time, on July 28th, it's Hellbound, which is the last show before their biggest show of the year, Hell for Lycra, which happens on August 18th at the Caird Hall. And so sometimes that show can be a little bit longer. I don't know whether it'll be a really long show this year because of different venue stuff, but I want to see how long this battery lasts. I don't know exact settings I'm going to use, the drive modes I'm going to use exactly. I'm not entirely confident with what results I'm going to get either from of those images. I honestly don't know, because it's a new camera, a different lens than I've used for the last couple of years. But hopefully I'll get some good images, and I'll see exactly how long this battery lasts at the show. It's only one just going to use ahead and use it. I've got to use it at one show, and I'd rather use my new Sony A7 III from now on, before that major show in August, the big show of the year. I want to see at least so that I have, and I know it's a big important show in a couple of weeks, but I do want to make sure that I kind of have a little bit of leeway of experimenting and differing the settings slightly if I can, depending on how I feel the photographs are coming out at Hellbound, rather than the major show and ruining in the biggest, and then ruining in it or not getting as great a shot photographs as I can at the Caird Hall show on the 18th of August. So certainly I'll be testing that, and I'll do a video at the start of August, seeing how I felt I got on with these batteries, and see talk about that then. So that is it, and I'm going a lot longer, 17 minutes, a lot longer than I wanted to. But actually, saying I've had 2 weeks with this camera. Just about 2 weeks, and I used it for the full 14 days. Done a little bit of experimenting, just in my room, taking a few photos and that, so I'm still getting used to it. There's a lot of opportunity this year. This summer we've had kind of decent weather, even though the weather, now looking out my window, it looks bright here, but it's right overcast. The weather's not supposed to be good for this next few days. But I think we need the rain though, unfortunately. But that's why I'm not going to maybe get out this week to do more photos, apart from the next weekend. But there's a lot of opportunities, actually. I want to mention a lot of opportunities this summer in Dundee for photographs. There's been out in the Maggie's Penguin Parade. There's a street festival next weekend. There's a Pride March at the, I think it's something that the week after Hell for Lycra. So, and there's the V&A Museum opening, and there's various different events going on. Florida Food Festival, like I said before, I want to get to that. There's various different things going on in the city of Dundee this summer, which is really good and really exciting. And hopefully, I really want to take advantage of as many of those opportunities as I can, and see how the Sony A7 III performed. But so far, really happy with my purchase. Really, it's certainly a far more advanced camera. Not all the photographs right now are going to be absolute pin sharp and fantastic, and I know people will say it's not the camera. I've seen a few videos recently saying it's not the you having an advanced camera doesn't instantly make your photos like all keepers and all completely classics that people would buy or want to hang in their homes or whatever, or that. But I understand, but I'm starting to get a grip with this camera. It's been a really good camera. It's got good capabilities so far, and hopefully it's certainly going to be keeping on working on unlocking these capabilities of this camera as time goes on.